You don't choose the neighborhood. The neighborhood chooses you before you're old enough to have an opinion about it. South Central, 1987. Summer heat sitting on the asphalt like something alive. The block outside your grandmother's window on West 63rd has been the same block for 30 years. Same corners, same economy, same hierarchy that outsiders call a gang and insiders call a fact of life. Your Uncle Marcus has been in the set since 1979. You learn this not from him, but from the way other men go quiet when he walks into a room. You're 6 years old and you already understand that silence is a form of respect. You just don't understand yet what a man has to do to earn it. The block will teach you. The block teaches everyone eventually. The only question is whether you survive the lesson long enough to use what you learned. You're 8 years old when you understand the difference between being from the neighborhood and being of it. Being from it just means your address. Being of it means something older. It means the men on the corner know your bloodline before they know your face. Your Uncle Marcus has been rolling 60s since 1979. He doesn't talk about it the way people on television talk about gangs. No speeches, no warnings, no dramatic confessions over kitchen tables. He just exists inside it the way a fish exists inside water. You watch him from the window of your grandmother's house on West 63rd, the way he holds court on the sidewalk, the way other men laugh a half second too late at his jokes, the way nobody steps into his path without adjusting their angle first. You study it the way other kids study cartoons. The Crips aren't some outside force that found your neighborhood. They were built inside it, going back to the early 70s. Back when the story was about protecting the block from everyone who wanted to take it. That's the founding myth anyway. By the time it reaches you, the original meaning is buried under 30 years of territory wars and body counts. But the story still travels, because every organization needs a creation myth. Even this one. You wear your first blue bandana at 9, not a flag, just a color. Your aunt buys it without thinking. But two of the older boys on the way to school nod at you and something shifts in your chest, a weight settling into place, comfortable and dangerous at the same time. You don't know yet what it means to be fully in, you just know you want to find out. You're 13 when they put it to a vote. 6 older members in the back of a garage on Hoover Street, a single bulb overhead, the smell of motor oil and cigarette smoke thick enough to taste. Nobody explains the rules. You already know them. They give you 60 seconds, 3 of them. You don't remember the pain clearly. You remember the sound of it, the flat crack of knuckle on bone, the way your vision tilts and goes white at the edges. You go down twice. You get up twice. That second time is what matters. Anyone can take the first hit. Getting up the second time is the answer to the only question they're actually asking. When it's over, a veteran named Tiny, who is not tiny, who has a scar running from his left ear to his jaw, looks at you for a long moment and nods. That's the whole ceremony. No handshake, no words, no acknowledgement, just a nod that means you exist now in a way you didn't 60 seconds ago. By the next morning, the block feels different. Not the block. You. The same sidewalk, the same liquor store on the corner, the same helicopters cutting circles overhead, but the men who used to look through you now look at you, and the space you take up carries a different weight. You should feel frightened. Some part of you does, but the bigger part feels something else, something flat and cold and almost like relief. You learn your first real lesson. Pain is just the membership fee. The only question is what you're buying. You've bought in. You have no idea yet what staying in will cost. By 16, you figured out how the math works. The street isn't chaos. It only looks like chaos from the outside. From inside, it's a market. Corners are real estate. Protection is a service contract. Violence is what happens when someone stops honoring the terms. You watch the men above you the way an apprentice watches a craftsman. Not the words, but the mechanics. When they speak and when they don't. What they never have to say twice. There's a shot caller 2 levels above you named Dre who runs 4 blocks of Figueroa like a logistics operation. You've watched him resolve a debt dispute in 3 minutes. No raised voice, no wasted motion, just a sequence of words delivered in a specific order that left the other man nodding and apologizing and walking away smaller than he arrived. You study that exchange the way other people study textbooks. One afternoon, a package goes missing on a runner's route. Not stolen. A 17-year-old made a mistake, panicked, hid the product. Everyone above him is occupied. So you find him. You recover the package, you deliver it where it needs to go, and you say nothing about how. You just make sure the right person hears what happened, through someone else's mouth in the right order. 3 days later, Dre says your name to another man. Not as a question, as a fact. That's the first rung. You learn your second lesson. Waiting to be chosen is how you die unknown. The men who run things didn't wait. They found a problem nobody else would touch, and they solved it before anyone thought to ask them. You start looking for problems. The test comes on a Wednesday. A lieutenant named Smoke has been skimming from a coroner's weekly count. Not much. Maybe $400 across 6 weeks, but enough that 2 people above him already know and are watching to see what you do with the information. They don't tell you that. You figure it out anyway. Smoke is 7 years older than you. He was in the set before you were a teenager. He has a reputation and allies inside the organization and a cousin 2 levels above both of you. Every person who has noticed the skimming has decided sensibly to see nothing. Saying nothing is the safe move. You can feel that consensus in the air like weather. You tell Dre directly. Private, no audience. Just the dates, the amounts, the pattern. Then you walk away and let it work. By the end of that week, Smoke is gone. Reassigned somewhere that doesn't have a name anyone uses out loud. No confrontation, no public consequence, no body. Just absent. The way problems disappear when the organization wants them to vanish without making a statement about it. 3 things change after that. Men who outrank you begin including you in conversations you weren't invited to before. The corner you worked expands by 2 blocks, and a veteran who trusted nobody under 20 starts treating you like someone whose read on a situation is worth hearing. You understand it then. Be alone in your car on a Tuesday night watching the block run itself. The men at the top aren't tougher or braver. They're the ones who act while everyone else is still calculating whether it's safe to move. You stop calculating, you start moving. You're 19 when Dre hands you your first real authority, not a corner, a corridor. 6 blocks running north from Florence to Slauson, 3 corners active, 11 men reporting to you, roughly $22,000 a week, moving through your hands before it travels up the chain. The number sounds significant until you see the overhead. Lawyers on retainer, 2 officers on a monthly arrangement, a bail bondsman who asks nothing and expects to be remembered. The operation has expenses like any business. You manage them now. What surprises you isn't the scale, it's the organization. There are protocols, schedules, contingency plans, a procedure for every problem you can anticipate, and several you couldn't have imagined. You learn them the way you once learned the block, watching, then by doing it until it stops feeling like learning and starts feeling like instinct. The order comes down on a Friday. A man named Curtis has been passing information to a rival set, routes, timing, pickup schedules, in exchange for a cut he believed was untraceable. Somebody traced it. The organization has already decided. They give you the job, because giving you the job is itself a message about where you stand now. Your hands don't shake. That's the part you remember most clearly. Afterward, there is no ceremony, no changed expression on the faces of the men around you. Just the quiet logistics of people who have done this before and will do it again. The cleanup is handled before morning. By the following week, Curtis is a name nobody uses. You don't feel guilty. You feel, for the first time, like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Dre retires on a Thursday. That's the word they use. He's 41 and healthy and has a daughter in middle school, and one morning he's simply not available and nobody asks why. You don't ask. You already know. 2 men believe the seat belongs to them. Marcus, who has seniority going back 15 years and a long memory for debts and favors owed. And a younger shot caller named Priest, who has ambition and the loyalty of 30 members in the mid-tier ranks. Both of them make the same miscalculation. They think the transition is a negotiation. It isn't. Marcus gets a visit from 2 men who explain calmly and without drama that a change of location would be good for his health. He's in Fresno by the weekend. Officially, family matters. Unofficially, he understands the arithmetic. Priest is more complicated. He has allies and he knows how to use them, and he's been telling people for months that the seat is his by right. So you give him a moment, a single decision point on a Tuesday evening, where his judgment fails him publicly in front of the people whose respect he needs most. You arranged the moment carefully. You watched from across the room while it unfolded. By Wednesday, his 30 men have reassessed their loyalty and found it was always more situational than personal. The neighborhood absorbs the shift before anyone announces it. You control 43 blocks across 3 zip codes. A lawyer who has never seen the inside of a courtroom because no case against you has reached one. A weekly figure you stopped counting and started weighing. You sit in Dre's chair and smell old cigarette smoke in the leather. Money is just paper. Power is making people who never saw you coming across the street when they do. Lately, things have been stable, which in your world means nobody is actively trying to kill you this week. The operation runs clean, the right people stay paid. 8 months without a serious problem, and you've started to mistake that for a permanent condition. Your lawyer brings you a file in the spring. Federal Task Force Organized Crime Division, 18 months of surveillance across 4 jurisdictions. Wiretaps, cooperating witnesses, a RICO framework with your name at the top of a 34-count indictment that doesn't exist on paper yet, but is being assembled carefully by people with patience and a budget that doesn't answer to anyone you can reach. He sets it on the table and watches your face. You push it back across the desk. These cases don't stick, you tell him. The witnesses fold. Your money outlasts their timeline. You've watched them build frameworks like this for a decade, and not one of them has ever gotten close. You call the task force a nuisance. You actually use that word. He picks up the file without expression and leaves. 2 of your most trusted lieutenants have been quiet lately. Shorter answers. Eyes that don't stay on yours quite as long as they used to. You register it the way you register distant traffic. Background noise, not signal. There are always more urgent things demanding your attention. That's how it works. That's how the rot spreads while the building looks solid from the street. The younger members of your set say, in rooms you're not in, that you've gone soft, that you've stopped watching the angles, that the man who used to see everything now only looks at what he wants to see. You don't hear them. You're not listening to anyone anymore. The call doesn't come the way you expected. No warning shot, no final confrontation, no moment where you see it arriving and make a choice. Just a Tuesday morning when every phone is dead and your lawyer doesn't answer and the 2 men you trusted longest are already in federal custody, trading 30 years of your history for the chance at a reduced sentence. They hit 14 locations simultaneously across 3 zip codes, coordinated, timed to the minute. One surgical in a way that tells you immediately that someone gave them the full architecture, not a corner of it, all of it. The schedules, the storage, the accounts, the guard rotations, you'll spend the rest of your life guessing which name sold you. You'll never be certain. That uncertainty is its own punishment. By noon, everything you spent a decade building is a federal exhibit numbered and tagged in a warehouse in downtown Los Angeles. You run with what fits in a bag. Cash. A phone already useless. You move through back streets toward the freeway, telling yourself there's still a play, still a lever somewhere in the wreckage you haven't tried yet. A patrol car runs your plates 2 miles from the on-ramp. Routine stop. The officer doesn't know your name until he does, and then his hand goes to his radio, and the whole thing is over in under a minute. You put your hands on the dashboard. The plastic is warm from the sun. And that's the last detail you'll remember clearly from the outside world. The warmth of the dashboard, the sound of the radio, the absolute ordinariness of how it ends. You're 31 years old. The corner of Figueroa and 54th keeps running that same night under different names. The block doesn't mourn you. It never mourned anyone. It just recalculates and moves forward, the way it always has, the way it always will, long after the last person who remembers your name is gone. Power is borrowed. And the block was always the lender.